And this is the running order for you, if you like, the menu for today. And Jack Laugher, Chris Mears for Great Britain, dive 5th. Yes, thank you very much, Hazel. And you can see the lineup for you on the screen right now. Jack Laugher, Chris Mears, Olympic and Commonwealth champions, dive 5th. The Russians, Evgenii KUZNETSOV and Ilia ZAKHAROV, the reigning European and world champions. And there's Ilia ZAKHAROV, look, giving the camera a bit of a wink. They will be the big competition for Jack and Chris today. So the 2 titles that Jack and Chris haven't got in their trophy cabinet, the Russians have.
Well, there you go. It's set up for a great afternoon of diving. We, of course, have got 10 pairs in this contest. 6 dives to do. The first 2 rounds of dives are the required dives, limited to 2.0 degree of difficulty. And Switzerland are up first.
And Guillaume Dutoit has impressed Leon, hasn't he, throughout this European Championship. He's the 22-year-old diving here with Simon Reichhoff with a back dive in pike to open up. So required dive, they're limited to 2.0 degree of difficulty.
Well, nice start from our first pair. So when the replay comes up, you'll be able to see that's beautiful synchronization. Same distance from the diving board. They're in and out of the pike at the same time. Well, that's 8.5s and 9s for me. Maybe the judges won't go 9s because they're from Switzerland and maybe don't have the reputation, but I agree with judge number 3 on the synchro at 8.5 and judge number 5. Good work.
Yeah, frustratingly for divers, sometimes reputation does count and can help you out with 0.5 of a mark, maybe here or there. Every now and then. Back dive in pike. The same then for Kasper Lisiak and Andrzej Rzucek of Poland. These 2 have come 4th twice, looking to do better at this European Championship.
Well, that's handy, isn't it? We can see a bit of like for like. The Swiss boys performing the back dive as well. Just a fraction different here for our Polish pair. You can see Kasper, who's closest to us, marginally further away from the diving board than his partner, and therefore the synchro marks probably won't be quite as good. Well, actually, I'm not quite sure why they are as good, but maybe the judges, needed that first dive to wake up.
Now,
I'm sure they'll be awake now.
They will be. Our first look at the Russians, the world champions. They have won this competition 6 times, and they are the reigning European champions. Forward 1.5 somersaults, 1 twist in
Yeah, it's always interesting choosing this dive because there's a lot going on, and if you are marginally out of time, then it's really, really obvious. But the Russians making no mistakes here. Look at that, twisting at the same time. Blue trunks, mirror image of each other. 9s for synchro for sure. Nearly the same for execution. Anything over 50 points, which that is world class, as you'd expect from the world champions.
52.80, that's the marker then for Jack and Chris to beat when they come up after the Armenians, the Haratyunyan twins. Vladimir won the first bronze for Armenia in the 10-meter synchro yesterday. Brilliant moment.
Hell of a competition.
Yeah, and they have no record at all in this. It's their first appearance at the Europeans. Back dive in pike.
Well, I'm often asked the question, what makes a good synchro partnership? And I jest identical twins. Here you go. But of course, it doesn't, well, if you're standing on the board and you're identical, that's excellent, but you do need to move identically as well. So we can see there the inexperience shining through for the Armenian brothers. Execution, yeah, 6s letting us down there. Well, synchronization was quite generous. Our boys.
Jack Laugher, Chris Mears, the Olympic champions, and listen to the roar from the crowd. This is the event they've all come to see. Back dive in pike for their first required. Chase down those Russians. 52.80, the score from Russia.
Oh, it's beautiful. Superb synchronisation. Steady start. Chris, welcome to the competition. I know you've had a patient wait. Jack, here we go again. So, just to pick the bones out of that, Jack is marginally further away from the diving board than Chris, so I'd be surprised if they get a 9. They get away with 8.5, so they're behind the Russians, and that is fair marking.
Yeah, they don't break that magical 50-point marker. So 3 points then slotting in behind the Russians. And here's our first look at the young Greek pairing. Nikolos Molvalis and Anathios Sirikos. He's 16 years old. Nikolas 18. The first senior competition for both of these guys. Back dive in pike.
Oh, that's very nice. But we're not going to see so much from them as we move into the optional rounds of dives with regard to degree of difficulty, certainly. Such a young new pairing. The Greeks, of course, winning Olympic gold in this very event in 2004 in what must be the most bizarre diving competition I've ever seen in my life. You can go on YouTube and watch that when you're not watching this. And here we are, living in the shadows at the moment of those great Olympic champions from 2004, but a long way to go in their career.
Andrea Cherubini and Giovanni Tocci of Italy came 6th together at the Rio Olympics. And Giovanni Tocci already with a silver from this European Championships in the 1 metre. An inward dive in pike.
Well, the Italians are often there or thereabouts. Be interesting to see how Tocci recovers from his disaster yesterday, where he nearly hit the diving board and ended up failing his dive. Looks pretty steady next to Andrea. There'll be a pair to watch for the lesser medal.
Yeah, in with bronze, and they're currently in 4th. Nikitze Sandro and Onikvashvili Tonike of Georgia. He came 27th and 28th in the 3 metre out of 29. So let's see if they fare better now they've teamed up. A back dive in pike.
Well, the Georgians are definitely our newest, least experienced and weakest pair in this contest. So you can already see a big difference in the quality of synchronisation. You can drive a small car through the gap in between the two divers there, which the judges will penalise. Maybe they'll get 6.5s on synchro. They do. It leaves them at the bottom of the pack.
So Alexander Gorsh-Kovazov and Oleg Kolody of Ukraine. And some real experience among these guys. Gorsh-Kovazov is a 14-time medalist, 3 times bronze medal winner in this event.
And they will be ones to watch as usual. Remember, we're looking for 50 points. Lining up at the same time. Looks good. That's going to get close to 50 points, and that's what you're after.
Yeah, 48.60. It's not enough to pip Jack Laugher and Chris Mears, or the Polish, who are currently in the bronze medal position. But here are Patrick Hausding and Lars Rudiger of Germany. 12 times a European champion is Patrick Hausding, but he has never won this event. 5 silver medals with Stefan Feck. He came 4th last year. Here he is with his new partner.
Oh, that's very tidy. Start to finish. what the judges are looking for. The same height, same distance, same movement pattern in and out of the dive. And the Germans have got all of that going on. Yeah, 9s on sync. Well, it's on synchro, so it's a bit of a split the judges a little there. I'd say that was closer to a 9, but some judges think 8, and that's why we average out the scores.
And let's have a look at the standings then after round 1. That dive from Germany has just pushed Jack Laugher and Chris Mears into the bronze medal position. Evgenii KUZNETSOV and Ilia ZAKHAROV, the world and European champions, out in front at the moment. So the Swiss came 6th at European Championships together last year. And a reverse dive in pike, 2.0 degree of difficulty.
Not as good as their first round dive. Marginally out of time all the way through. Really just jumping a little further away from the diving board. Execution of both divers is okay, but we're getting more than 7s on execution. Therefore the synchronization, yeah, so look at that.
7.5s. Not over that magical 100-point marker. And these guys had a really good first round dive, 49.20. Reverse dive in pike for Poland's second effort.
Two out of 2 for Team Poland. They're identical twins, but they're on the pool side there, the brothers, KUZNETSOV brothers, who used to dive many years ago. Well, not that many, but they used to dive together. Now coaching the national team and doing a fantastic job as well. It's Polish diving going from strength to strength. Andre, of course, in both the 1 metre and the 3 metre final, finishing middle of the table. I'm not sure these boys, with that opening first 2 rounds of dives, will be striking distance for somewhere near the medals. I doubt they will get a medal.
These two surely will. Evgenii KUZNETSOV and Ilia ZAKHAROV, world champions, been going well together this season as well. 4 silver medals on the World Series circuit behind the dominant Chinese pair. Back dive in pike.
Well, that's your marker once again, isn't it? Now, this is the beauty of synchronized diving. You don't really need me here because you can see whether that's in time. And, in case you're wondering, that's in time.
Spot on.
Isn't it? So 9s at least on synchro. Yeah, 9s across the board. Look at that, another 52.2, 105.
Through the 100 marker for the Russians. Haratyunyan and Haratyunyan, the Armenian twins. Reverse dive in pike.
Well, that was pretty much of a muchness compared to their first dive. So they're quite snatchy in and out of the dive. So they're coming in out of the pike shape as if they're in a bit of a rush. If I was their coach, I'd invite them to slow down. And he's got some funky kinesiology tape on, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Fashion statement if ever I've seen one. But not unusual to see divers held together by sticky tape. They get back in the jacuzzi to keep warm in between dives rather than, you know, chill out.
Jack Laugher, Chris Mears, just a fraction of a point off the silver medal. And 55.20 here would see them take the lead from Russia. Reverse dive in pike.
Well, they're being outclassed at the moment by the Russians. Jack, this time a little closer to the diving board. It's Chris that's a little further away. Chris a little bit off on his execution, just washing the dive over, so the judges will take him to task on that. 7.5, 8 for Chris, 8s on synchro. There is a 7-point gap.
There is. It's opening up now, isn't it, between Russia and the rest of the field. Jack and Chris have a lot of work to do. Well, Valsis and Sirikos of Greece, the teenagers, European junior silver medalists in wood dive and pike.
Well, they're very precise, neat and tidy, good execution. They are low to the water though. When you're being compared to Jack and Chris, who are diving before you, it's really obvious, the judges, so sometimes you can get away with it. Depends who you're being compared to. But here the execution, yes, low, because they're like, well, you just fell off the board compared to the two powerhouses that just went.
7.5s for synchronization, not too bad.
No, it's a good synchro.
Andrea Chiarabini and Giovanni Tocci. They were 5th after the first round. Back dive in pike.
It's two good quality dives, required dives from the Italians. Interesting to see how they get on with the optionals. They've got some big DDs in there, which sometimes prove challenging for anyone. Italians are no exception to that, but that, as far as the opening two dives go, is pretty good for Tocci, Cherubini.
From Georgia, 21 years old and 18, Sandro and Tornique. They came 12th last year, so they will be better this year because there are only 10 entries. Reverse diving pike.
And that is marginally better than their opening round dive. Timing-wise, hitting the water at the same time, just that differing distances from the diving board. Execution is, well, you can see it's just lacking a little bit. 6s, 7.7s for execution, same for synchro. Putting them safely in the bottom spot.
Right, the Ukrainians, Koshkovazov and Kolody in 5th. 14-time medalist Gorkoshazov. He's won bronze 3 times in this event.
Well, that's okay from Ukraine. I don't speak the same language, but I could tell by the expression on the coach's face that she was feeling the same as me, that boys did their dives well. Made a little bit of an error on the synchronization, drifting away. They get away with 8s, but if they were in alignment, they'd have been laughing with over 50 points.
Here is Patrick Hausding and Lars Rudiger, who have found themselves in the silver medal position, pushing Jack and Chris down into bronze after the first round of dives. 4th together last year and on for a medal here this year. Inward 1.5 somersaults in pike.
Well, there's still a long way to go. I don't know whether these two will have what it takes to get to the podium, but you never know what is around the corner. So this is the start of the competition, but it's pedestrian because there's only so much you can do. I don't think you can win it from here, but you can certainly lose it from here. And the Russians have put their noses out in front. The Germans alongside the Brits.
Let's have a quick look at the summary because it's good news for Jack Laugher and Chris Mears. That German dive has left Patrick Hausding and Lars Rudiger tied now for the silver medal, with Jack and Chris, Evgeny Kuznetsov and Ilia Zakharov out in front by 6.6 marks. So they are catchable.
Well, no, I think that's going to prove to be decisive, to be honest. You cannot give the world champions a 7-point head start on the requireds. It's just not making it easy for yourself.
No, you have to be absolutely brilliant and pray for a mistake.
Well, you need them to make a mistake now, and why would they? Well, I'm sure they wouldn't purposely make a mistake.
Inward 2.5 somersaults in pike, 3.0 degree difficulty. Then as we move through to the third round, the optional dive starts. So this is where teams can begin to crank up the difficulty and rake in the points.
Or not. So that's our easiest of the Swiss dives in the 4 rounds of optionals incoming. So if you are going to use a low degree of difficulty, it needs to be executed really well, and that didn't quite happen there for our young Swiss partnership. So the synchro marks are okay. You'll see in moments to come what a real optional dive looks like by way of scores and degree of difficulty.
This degree of difficulty, another 3.0 from Poland, inward 2.5 somersaults in pike for Lesjak and Rzucek.
So it is nice to compare and contrast. Exactly the same dive as the Swiss. Notice there, perfectly identical spin speeds. Andre, left of our screen, just over rotates ever so slightly. Other than that, that's a pretty good all-round effort. And so far, Poland trucking along quite nicely. Okay, here is a big dive from a big partnership and a big pair.
Yeah, the world champions, Evgeni Kuznetsov and Ilia Zakharov, starting off their optionals with a 3.6 degree difficulty, back 3.5 somersaults in tuck. World champions, Olympic silver medalists, reigning European champions.
Oh, and it's the 2012 Olympic champion, last night's silver medalist, that has made a glaring error. So the takeoff for both divers is good. Zakharov, just surfboard moment right there. He should get taken to task on that. That's not worth more than a 4. So execution marks left of screen, 4 and 5.5. Oh, that is, the door's wide open. Wide open.
It's what we were saying. You needed a mistake then to chase down the Russians, and they duly delivered.
Yeah. It's not over though.
The Haratyunyan twins from Armenia. Vladimir Haratyunyan won bronze in the 10-meter synchro yesterday. Inward 2.5 somersaults in pike.
Well, they're both spinning off to the side of the board, aren't they? I wonder what was going on, and keeping the splashdown. So, yeah, good effort, boys. Well done. See you next round. Okay, the door's open, gentlemen. You've been given a reprieve of your OK requireds.
Let's see what Jack Law and Chris Mears can do. 6.6 points behind the Russians after round 2. Zakharov made a mistake. Forward 2.5 somersaults, 2 twists in pike, 3.4 degree of difficulty to close that gap and move towards the top.
Well, that'll definitely be good enough to leapfrog the Russians. And we have a competition on our hands now. Forward 2.5, 2 twists. Excellent synchronization into the twist at the same time. That should get 8.5s, maybe even a couple of cheeky 9s on synchro, none that count. 83 points, and we're looking at the current leaders.
Brilliant stuff from Jack and Chris, taking the opportunity when it was presented. Morvalis and Syrikos of Greece. Forward 3.5 somersaults in pike, 3.1.
Wow, they're really starting to push the shaking of the head from the coach. And he knows, he was a coach who was in charge of the Olympic team in 2004 when the Greeks won gold. And this isn't gold medal diving here from this junior pair. Splosh on the right left of screen there. 3.5 on execution, yeah. Just showing us, reminding us how difficult this sport actually is, Kat.
Well, it is when you're 16.
No, it's difficult any age.
Forward 2.5 somersaults, 2 twists in pike for Cherubini and Tocci of Italy. 3.4 degree of difficulty.
Well, it ended up okay. The Italians cranking up the DD now for them and their capability. So Tocci just a little further out than Andrea. An outside chance for a bronze. Still, a couple of bogey dives to come for them, particularly the next round. I'll tee you up for that one when we get to the next round. Cameraman looks like he got in the shower a little bit there with the diver looking at his lens. As Andrea keeps himself warm in between dives and we wait for a technical.
And then yesterday he had the disaster.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. Nearly landed back on the diving board midway through the dive and caused everyone on the pool deck a heart attack. Here are the marks for the Italians.
Finally, 7.5 for synchronisation.
74.
Yeah, 74.46.
74.
Sandro and Tornike of Georgia. Inward 2.5 somersaults in pike, just 3.0 degree of difficulty.
Well, that's the closest they've been to being in synchronisation from start to finish. Spin speeds are spot on. Actually different distances from the diving board, but that was it. Will they get some 7s, maybe 7.5s from the judges for synchro? Right of screen coming up now. Yeah, they get some well-deserved 7s there, Kat.
They do.
They do.
Much better from Team Georgia in round 3. Right then, the Ukrainians currently in 5th, but
got a chance to make a play, haven't they?
They do have a chance to make a play. And this, an inward 3.5 somersaults in tuck, 3.4 degree of difficulty. These two have won European bronze together before.
Oh, that's a very steadfast first optional dive for the Ukrainians. It's big, it's 3.4. And most importantly, it's in sync. So 8s for synchro. Will they be laughing all the way to almost the top of the leaderboard?
Not quite.
They're above the Russians.
They are above the Russians. And that is a remarkable shuffling of the pack. But here come Germany with their third effort. Forward 3.5 somersaults in pike, 3.1 degree of difficulty for Patrick Hausding, Lars-Ruediger.
Well, the Germans showing early promise. Seem to allow the dives to get away from them there. Both executions were okay, 7s probably, but the differing distances from the diving board, you're not going to get more than a 7.5 on synchro. Well done, judges. You marked that correctly. You get distracted by who it was that was diving. You marked the diving side.
Yeah, Patrick Hausding, 12-time European champion. But look at that, Jack Laugher, Chris Mears have taken the lead. A 9.96 lead over KUZNETSOV and Kolody of Ukraine, who've leapfrogged the world champions Evgenii KUZNETSOV and Ilia ZAKHAROV of Russia into silver medal place. So that was a real turnaround. Third round of dives, with Great Britain taking the lead.
Yeah, so don't get too excited. Still 3 rounds of optionals to go, and you can see how much it can shift. Just remember that.
Inward 3.5 somersaults in tuck, 3.4 degree of difficulty for Guillaume Dutoit and Simon Rykhoff of Switzerland.
Up in the ante. Up in the ante, increase in the risk. And with increased risk, always increasing the probability of things going slightly wrong, and that's exactly what we're looking at there. Synchro was okay, just those dives are slightly too difficult for them. So it's a major scramble at the finish. So as we wait patiently again for the scores, what I've liked, and Guillaume did the same in the individual event, he was like, okay, I'm not quite good enough to do these dives, but I'm going to do them anyway. Fake it till you make it. And he's doing a good job as we flick to the Polish coach. Holds are up next. The marks on your screen now, so those are the executions I was talking about. But the synchro, that's where the gamble pays off, because that carries with the higher degree of difficulty.
6.5 for synchronization from the Swiss. 3.1 degree of difficulty forward, 3.5 somersaults in pike. So lower degree of difficulty again for Team Poland.
Wow, nice. So they started off with a 3.0, now it's a 3.1. They're slowly edging up in their own way. 3.4s to finish for them. But as I mentioned, if you are going to use a lower degree of difficulty, make sure you nail it. And the Poles have done just that. 8s across the board in synchro, you can't complain at that.
So Russia, with a mistake from Zakharov in the last round, fell from gold medal to bronze medal position. There is Zakharov, preparing for reverse 3.5 somersaults in tuck.
I did want to reach across then and let you know, Kat, because this competition is far from over. So the Russians will come away with nearly 90 points on that. Beautiful dives, marginally differing distances from the diving board, so they'll get, I don't know whether they'll get 9s on synchro, but they are way back in the competition.
Yeah, just 8.5s for synchro, but not the 9s that you may have hoped for. Still, Russia rocking and rolling. Back up the leaderboard, back to the top spot, with Jack and Chris yet to come. Forward 3.5 somersaults in pike, 3.1 for the Armenian twins.
Oh, nicely done. Ever so slightly out of time, differing distances from the diving board. Both divers over-rotating, so arguably they're in perfect synchronization as they both roll over into the water. The judges tend not to agree with me on that, though. They're just too hard-wired that if it's not well executed, then it's out of sync. So I think the judge number 5 on the synchro gave it a 7 is closer to where it needs to be.
Jack Law, Chris Mears, the Olympic champions, the current leaders. Inward 3.5 somersaults in tuck, 3.4 degree of difficulty. A big moment for the British. After that brilliant dive from the Russians.
Oh, that's really, really good. Really, really good. Well, Jack nailed this in his individual, and I did mention then that this is his bogey dive, and actually it isn't anymore, because look at this. Jack absolutely burying his. He should get 8.5s and 9s for the execution. Chris is not quite as good Synchro's great. 9, come on. Yeah, 1-9 to count.
Brilliant. 9 in the synchronisation. And that is just what Chris and Jack needed to cling on to that top spot and that 10-point advantage as well over the Russians. Back 2.5 somersaults in pike, 3.0 degree of difficulty for Molvalsis and Sidikos of Greece.
Well, the base of the eyebrows from the coach, letting us know that it's normally, or he expects it to be better than that. Different distances from the diving board. We've got lots of potential, and of course, diving, winning medals at Junior Europeans and getting a great experience here at senior level.
Andrea Chiarabini and Giovanni Tocci, a reverse 3.5 somersaults in tuck 3.5. This is their toughest dive of this 3-meter synchro final.
Well, this was the dive that Tocci had terrible trouble on yesterday, where he actually failed the dive because of a massive mistake on his takeoff, had a knee buckle. I'm pleased to say today that he's got the dive off. He did look a little nervous, landing short of vertical. So that was a big, risky dive there for the Italians. I don't think that's paid off as well as it could have. They've got away with it, though, with the synchronization being good. Tocci only getting 4.5 and 5 for his execution.
Sandro Antonica of Georgia, forward 3.5 somersaults in pike, 3.1 degree of difficulty.
They were in good time. Spin speeds were together, just both struggling with the execution of the dive. Ending up falling around a little short of vertical, but that's probably their strongest effort so far out of the optional dives. Georgia having a good run, but they are at the bottom of the pack.
Now the pair who were in silver medal position at the halfway point, Gorshkovazov and Kolody of Ukraine. 3.1 degree of difficulty, forward 3.5 somersaults in pike.
The Ukrainians stepping up, making a play. Forward 3.5 in the pike position. This is their lowest degree of difficulty. They start to increase it, rounds 5 and 6. So this one needed to be really solid. This will get 75 points, maybe a little bit more. If they get any 8.5s on synchro, which I think they will, they do.
Yeah, 76.26, and it's a good dive. With that lower degree of difficulty, they slip down below the Russians and into the bronze medal position. But as you say, they've got the tougher dives coming later.
Yep.
So Patrick Hausding, 2-time Olympic medalist. Forward 2.5 somersault, 2 twists in pike, alongside Lars-Ruediger for Germany.
It's good from the Germans, but they're still struggling to get fully in sync. Hausding further away from the diving board. Oh, I beg your pardon, it's not Hausding, it's Lars who's further away. Kind of got away with it with the odd 8 in there. But imagine if that was in perfect alignment, they'd have been laughing with 9s on a 3.4. So the Germans squeezing up close and cuddly with the Ukrainians.
Yeah, let's have a look at the standings then. 2 more rounds of dives left. Jack Law and Chris Mears with a 10.74 lead over the world champions, Evgenii KUZNETSOV and Ilia ZAKHAROV of Russia. Gorshkovazov and Kolody of Ukraine hanging on to their bronze medal position as well, and a little gap opening up between them and the Germans, so the podium spots looking a bit safer. It just depends who is where on that podium. Forward 3.5 somersaults in pike, 3.1 degree of difficulty for Dutoit and Reichhoff of Switzerland.
Oh, just ever so slightly off on the finish. The synchronization was good all the way, spin speeds are good. And then those divers not one over, one short. So even though they hit the water at the same time, they're entering at different angles. 7.5 is generous on the synchro. The judges could have really been harsher. Difficult dive for the Polish pair now.
Yeah, 3.4 degree of difficulty they have for their last 2 dives. This one inward 3.5 somersaults in tuck.
Oh, it's great synchronization. And the lion's share of the marks is for the synchronization, so even though both athletes' execution was slightly off, maybe 5.5 to 6s on the execution per diver, the synchro is good, and that carries them to get over 70 points. The Poles are having a great contest.
Yeah, 7.5 for synchronization. They've got that nailed, haven't they?
Yeah, they're doing well today.
KUZNETSOV and Ilia Zakharov then currently in the silver medal position, leapfrogging the Ukrainians up into silver behind Jack and Chris. And this is 3.4, so relatively low degree of difficulty for the Russians with their penultimate dive. Inward 3.5 somersaults in tuck. It needs to be spot on to keep up the pressure on the British.
Well, it's certainly not spot on. So, you can even see their teammates there just shaking their heads ever so slightly. The synchronization, look at that, it's beautiful, but both Ilia closest to us and even KUZNETSOV left of screen now, rolling over, so execution letting them down. And I say letting them down, that's still a monster big dive, okay, 80 points, but when I've seen them score over 90 and they're 10 points behind.
And Jack and Chris have got a 3.9 degree
yeah,
difficulty
I know, well that's the dodgy
up.
bit. Let's not get too excited about that yet.
Can't help it. Haratyunyan and Haratyunyan, the twins from Armenia, forward 2.5 somersaults, 2 twists.
Oh, the most complicated dive for our Armenians. And you can see there's a big gap in between the divers, differing distances. But it's a big dive, big degree of difficulty. It's going to carry them over the 60 points for sure. Satisfactory marks across the board, both execution and synchro.
Now, could this be the dive that seals the European Championship for Jack Law and Chris Mears of Great Britain? 3.9 degree of difficulty, the toughest you will see in this competition. Forward 2.5 somersaults, 3 twists in pike. A big risk, but big rewards at stake.
Oh, I don't know what to make of it. It is big by way of degree of difficulty. And with that, I can't tell from this angle, so we'll have to wait. Chris was a little bit skew-iff on the end of his. Didn't have the best hurdle step. He's done a great job to hold on to it. What are they going to get? Oh, 7.5 on synchro is good. That big DD's carried them to 84 points. Oh, I'm so pleased the judges didn't really take them to task on that.
Oh, they've got away with it, haven't they?
Well, it's such a good dive compared to the takeoffs that they had.
Valis and Syrikos of Greece reverse 2.5 somersaults in tuck. Just 2.8 degree of difficulty.
Oh, that's back down to earth with the bump, isn't it? So we just watched the 3.9, the most difficult dive possible from the 3-meter board. And now the Greeks, 2.8 degree of difficulty. And very mediocre effort there. You can see the low DD, this score 48.72. right there, Kat.
Just digesting it all.
Okay.
Andrea Chiarabini and Giovanni Tocci with a 3.4 degree of difficulty. Inward 3.5 somersaults in tuck.
Oh, the Italians were there or thereabouts. And that really needed to be better. That's 3.4. This is their last chance to get up there to put pressure for the lesser medal. And yeah, can't keep up, can't quite handle the pace today. And the Italians are slipping, or have slipped.
They have. I think that'll be their chances of a medal gone, with the Ukrainians and the Germans yet to dive in this penultimate round. 3.0 degree of difficulty. Forward 2.5 somersaults, 1 twist for Georgia.
Wow, that's just the timing that these boys will be looking for. Finally corrected the differing distances from the diving board. They'll be pleased with that one. Compared to what I've seen in training, this is a very positive offering.
Kosovoz and Kolodi currently in the bronze medal position, and as Leon whispers, it is huge. Forward 4.5 somersaults in tuck, 3.8 degree of difficulty for a European medal, surely.
Oh, this is what happens. High risk. You're going to see a couple more of these, as in the Russians will be doing this dive, as will Jack and Chris. And this means that Poland will now be in the bronze medal position. The gamble from Ukraine has not paid off at all. They might be carried by the synchro, even though it's 3.8 degree of difficulty. That kind of execution, look at the judges killing them on the execution, and synchronization not much better. So that could be Ukrainians' chance.
Blown.
Yeah, blown.
So that's a chance then for the great Patrick Hausding and his new partner, Lars-Ruediger, in fourth. And this is a 3.5 degree of difficulty, reverse 3.5 somersaults to move into the medal places.
Oh, well, you teed it up for them, Kat, and I was surprised to see that they actually fancied it. Wow. Hausding a little close to the diving board there for my liking, but he gets his hands on that entry, and that is going to be huge for the German pair. I think we'll see them in bronze medal position, surprisingly.
They will, look at that, 7.5 for synchronization, execution as well. And that moves Patrick Hausding, the 12-time European champion, into the bronze medal position. Look at that, Jack Law, Chris Mears, now 15.42. They've extended their lead over Evgenii Kuznetsov and Ilia Zakharov of Russia, the world champions. And Patrick Hausding, Lars-Ruediger jumping up because of that Ukrainian mistake, with one round of dives yet to come. Will it be the hat-trick of golds for Great Britain's Jack Law, this time diving in tandem with his best friend, Chris Mears? Forward 2.5 somersaults, 2 twists in pike, 3.4 degree of difficulty for the Swiss to finish.
Solid effort on their final round dive. Smile from the coach. Plenty of content to go through. What can they do even better next time? They are pushing their skill sets to the absolute limit with the highest degree of difficulty that they can muster. So they're not playing it safe. They're risking it, and they dive well today under the circumstances. 22 and 19 respectively.
So the Polish team currently in 4th. A bit of a gap between them and the Germans in bronze. The forward 2.5 somersaults, 2 twists in pike, 3.4 degree of difficulty.
Oh, that's the first dive the Polish team have been a little bit off on. I mean, it is their most difficult dive. Marginally out of sync on their spin speeds. Rest of there just landing very short of vertical. Oh, I think this is going to be the finish that they weren't looking for. Almost a very good showing today.
And a 4.5 for execution there as well. That was not the finish that Poland wanted.
Remember this from yesterday.
3.8 degree of difficulty, forward 4.5 somersaults in tuck. The last play for the world champions to claim the gold.
Oh, it's stunning. Now, will it be enough? That is thrown down the gauntlet to Jack and Chris. Thought there might be this in the bag, just as we thought, oh, we can start relaxing. Evgenii and Ilia have come through with a big monster 90+ point dive to finish. So
94.62.
So our boys aren't clear at all. They've got the same dive though, Jack and Chris, coming up in 2 divers' time. It's theirs for the taking.
Take a breather whilst Armenia finish.
Yeah.
Harutyunyan twins, Azat and Vladimir. Reverse 1.5 somersaults, 3.5 twists.
Oh, it's a good dive to finish for Armenia. They got their alignment correctly, so the diving distance from the diving board was much more precise. So 3.5, so that's going to carry them nicely. It'll be their highest scoring dive. And a good showing from Armenia, who, wow, they must be on a high from last night's record-breaking result, winning a medal with the men's 10-metre synchro.
This is it for Jack Laugher and Chris Mears. They need over 79 points to claim the gold medal here at the European Championships, reclaim the title they won in 2016. Forward 4.5 somersaults in tuck, 3.8 degree of difficulty for the big finish.
I don't know now. This is going to be mega close. It should be enough. The synchro should carry them through. Chris Mears letting that dive go really far over a vertical. Look at that. It's going to be mega close. I don't know which way. It's come right down to the dive. I don't know. Let's see. It's down to the judges. The boys are hugging. The scores. Not good enough.
It's not good enough. Jack Laugher and Chris Mears will have to settle for the silver medal. It is celebrations for Russia, the world and European champions. Back-to-back titles then for Evgenii Kuznetsov and Ilia Zakharov of Russia. Oh, they let it slip on the last hurdle. What a shame for Great Britain. Forward 2.5 somersaults, 1 twist in pike for Greece.
Good synchronisation for our youngest pair in this contest, just 18 and 16 junior European silver medalists taking part in their first senior European Championships. We will see more of this pair. They're going to get bigger and stronger as they continue to work on their difficulty. Their execution looks promising on some of the easier dives. They just come unstuck as they start to push their boundaries.
Andrea Chiarabina and Giovanni Tocci of Italy down in 6th. The medal out of the question for them. A 3.1 degree of difficulty forward, 3.5 somersaults in pike to finish.
It's their favourite dive to finish, but the Italians have left themselves too much to do. A few errors in rounds 4 and 5 have meant they've slipped behind the battle for the bronze, which is still to take place. The last two pairs, Ukraine versus Germany. They're going to dive it out on this final round. The Italians say goodbye. Georgians with their most complicated dive now.
And they will finish way better than they did last year. 12th last year, forward 2.5 somersaults, 2 twists in pike, 3.4 degree of difficulty. Of course, only 10 entries in this. They're currently in 9th.
See it?
I did see it.
Yeah.
There's no taking your eyes off it, really.
No. Oh, just about completing the dive. Really struggled on the takeoff there. Looked like a raggy doll in the air. But the Georgians really giving it their all. What happens when you have to do 6 dives? You have to put in one which is borderline dangerous.
Now the battle for bronze then to finish off between Alexander Gorshkovazov and Oleg Kolidi of Ukraine and Patrick Hausding, Lars-Ruediger of Germany. So the Ukrainians with their last throw of the dice. Back 2.5 somersaults, 1.5 twists in pike, 3.4 degree of difficulty.
Oh, it's a pretty good roll of the dice. Will it be enough? This is marginally higher degree of difficulty than the Germans, but they are 10 points behind the Germans, 12 points behind the Germans. So this is Germany's to throw away. That's only going to get what, 70 or 72, right? So this is the Germans, barring a disaster. The bronze should comfortably be in Team Germany's hands. It's impossible for them to get the gold or the silver.
So it's bronze or nothing.
Bronze
for Patrick Hausding or Lars-Ruediger. Reverse 2.5 somersaults, 1.5 twists in pike, 3.3 degree of difficulty.
Yep, it is a secure bronze for Germany, who have just been consistent. 6 out of 6 for Germany. They haven't done anything brilliantly, but they've done everything at a level that is good enough and consistent enough for them to be miles off the pace of the big guns, the Jack, Chris versus Evgenii, Ilia, for Germany. A well-deserved bronze.
Yeah, the experience of Patrick Hausding showing through there and steering his new partner, Lars-Ruediger, 22 years old, through to a bronze medal. And it's handshakes for Jack Law and a hug for Chris Mears. The fairy tale not to be for Great Britain. They have to settle for the silver. There'll be no repeat of the Commonwealth gold hat-trick for Jack Law. 2 golds and a silver here in the Edinburgh Commonwealth pool.
Really fast. Yeah. Do you know what? Yeah, I'm sure it knows that. So I was like, be slow. That's all right, whatever. Yeah, it's cool. It is, but it is. It's still a good result. It is, yeah. Yeah.
So these are the final standings then, and look at that. Just half a point in it between Evgeni Kuznetsov and Ilia Zakharov. Back-to-back European championships for Russia. Jack Laugher and Chris MEARS, the Olympic champions, have to settle for silver, while Patrick Hausding, a 28th European medal for the great German, alongside Lars-Ruediger.